excuse me, on the women's track team while she was there. She was... Okay, sorry about that. I don't know why. I'm used to using these things too. Anyway, I guess I'm not speaking loud enough. Anyway, she was the first woman to be promoted to commander and also the first woman to be promoted to deputy chief. And during her tenure with the Columbus Division of Police, she has continued her law enforcement trainings with organizations such as the Police Executive Leadership College, the FBI, and the U.S. Army War College courses, among others. While she has been, again, with the police division, she has done such things as reorganizing the Bureau of Internal Affairs. Several years ago, you may have read in the paper where she had the lead in the reorganization of the staffing and the police and precinct districts. She has also done administrative and operational changes for the 9/11 call center. Her hobbies include bicycling, golfing, gardening, reading, and participating in her church choir. So let's give a warm Rotary welcome to Chief Kim Jacobs. Chief.
Well, good afternoon. I will use the mic. Let me fix it though. All right, well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation to join you for lunch today and the opportunity to get to know all of you a bit better and you to get to know me a little bit better. There are a couple of people, as you heard, that know me very, very well, and that's my parents, Cal and Dorothy Knight. And I truly appreciate the fact that I appreciate Mr. Bartha for driving them down here as his guest today. My parents have been my biggest supporters for all of my life, so they share some responsibility for me being here with you. But I also want to thank everybody that shared part in getting the invitation. I do represent the city in a lot of different ways, and I think it's important that we stay in touch. So my parents taught me many different things, of course, and they modeled how rewarding it is to work in service to others. And though there weren't any law enforcement types in our family, service was part of that. My dad, a former Rotarian, as you heard, worked for many years helping farmers as the county extension agent, telling them how to improve their crops and productivity. My mother rose through the ranks, does that sound familiar? Through the nursing ranks and became the vice president of nursing services at the hospital in Ashland, Ohio. So it's an honor to talk to so many people who have connected their lives for the purpose of making a difference in the lives of people that they might not even know. So thank you for making our community stronger through the generosity that you demonstrate with your work and membership in Rotary. I got introduced a little bit ago by as the new chief, and I'm not sure how long new lasts. It's been about 1.5 years already, and I've got a 5-year term, and that time really has flown by. I'm settling in, and I truly do love my work. So much so that I'm hoping that I'll be offered another 5-year term. It's a strange feeling to sign papers after working in a place for 30-some years, and they say, now your term is limited. But it'll be up to the mayor and the safety director to decide if that happens again, but I'm certainly looking forward to it. Either way, I'm trying to get as much done as I possibly can as quickly as I can. I'm focusing on the here and now, but also building for the future. The here and now entails getting to know everybody and sharing the mission statement that I wrote as the new chief, and that is, we are in service with the purpose to protect, with the passion to persevere, and with the utmost pride in our performance. As business people and service providers, you all know how important performance is. And when it's the taxpayers' dollars that you're using, it really matters a lot to all of us. I was charged to excel in 3 areas by the mayor when he honored me by giving me this opportunity. He said leadership, efficiency, and innovation are extremely important to him. So they are as well to me. The leadership part's going pretty well. I've established a very good rapport with our personnel by doing personal visits with them, whether it's at their roll call, whether it's at a major scene that we have, whether it's a police-involved shooting. I go out and I talk to them and just show them that my presence is important to me, to be with them. I've ridden with our bike patrol, because bicycling is my hobby. And I've also attended numerous roll calls and basically turned it into a question and answer time for them to ask their questions and for me to answer them and vice versa. I like to hear the answers that everybody gives because it's important to have a major perspective from very different points of view. And that's as long as the answer when I ask the question, why are we doing it this way, isn't, well, I don't know. Or we've always done it that way. That's one of the worst answers that you can hear as a business professional, right? So I try to get to the bottom of things and find out what they know about their job and why they're doing it, because that's the way that you can make improvements. And certainly I always have based my decisions on being able to face whoever is involved and look them in the eye and explain exactly why I made that decision. So getting input is extremely important in doing that. I truly believe that as a member of the Division of Police, supported by the taxpayers, I need to be able to answer to you, to our complainants, to our officers, to the media, whoever might be involved, that this is exactly why we did it this way. Another strong belief of mine is to get more of what you reward. So I talk positively about the good things that are going on. And if you talk negatively all the time, then that's what people think. I want them to think positively on a regular basis. So I talk about those things and praise the courageous and very difficult work that many of our personnel engage in every single day. I also let them know that they don't work for me. I work for them, just as I work for you. I'm also frequently out in the community at engagements like this, being able to speak with and talk to people in our community. Gives them a chance to know me a little bit better and how I do my work. And that work that is being performed by our personnel is outstanding work most of the time. But when we fail in that regard, I believe in accountability and transparency. I also stay in touch with the national organizations that are involved in law enforcement and other law enforcement agencies to make sure that we're following the best practices. This is extremely important to know how we are able to perform our work and reduce our errors and reduce our liabilities. So the efficiency part that the mayor asked about, well, it's going pretty well too. Anybody see the paper last Friday? The Dispatch ran an article about the positive surplus in the budget. And part of that's kind of a record-setting year for the Division of Police to reduce our overtime expenditures, being under budget. So with that significant number, it's also with a significant number of civilian vacancies. So we're short-staffed and still able to reduce our overtime. That should matter to all of us who are taxpayers. I live in the city, it's important to me, I know that. In addition to saving money in that way, I'm pressing hard to hire more civilians to do some of the work that's had to been performed by police officers in the past. Let them do some more of that administrative work so that I can free up our officers to go out there and do more operational things that they've been trained to do as crime fighters. I don't want to lose those officer numbers, though. We still are not back up to the 2007 high number of sworn personnel that we had before the recession. So I want to hire some civilians to do that administrative work and continue to increase our sworn numbers back up to where we were. Nobody's quite sure why crime has been going down for the last 10 to 12 years in general. Nobody knows. They can't say it's because of more police officers, although we have more police officers on the street in general. They can't say it's because there's more cameras available. But whatever that reason is, I don't want to start going back to more crime. So at this point in time, with regard to the efficiency, I'd like to make a note of some recent research, and I don't know if you were aware of it. But the research has found that companies with women in executive leadership roles often perform better financially. Separately, both Catalyst, a U.S. research organization, and McKinsey & Company, which produces the McKinsey report, found that more women in leadership is correlated to stronger financial returns. Companies with the highest percentage of women show the best performance, particularly in the organizational aspects of innovation and accountability. I bring this up because, unfortunately, women are definitely underrepresented in my field, and there are only an estimated 1 to 2% of police chiefs in this country that are women. So won't be surprised to hear that I actively recruit women and other people in underrepresented groups whenever I get a chance. The third challenge from the mayor, innovation, is one of those areas that I particularly keep my nose in the news, talk to other chiefs, and listen to our critics. Innovation isn't just about technology, however. It's about strategies and tactics. Technology does, however, play a significant role in our way of doing business. So you could ask, technology, well, how are we doing with those neighborhood cameras? Well, so far, the reception has been very well in the neighborhoods. In fact, there's more neighborhoods that are asking for them. And I'm sure that that program will continue to grow. They came in very, very effective when we were able to introduce some cameras downtown right after the Boston Marathon tragedy. We got some cameras downtown to make everybody feel a little bit safer. So that's a very good use of technology, in my opinion. We use them fairly frequently to help identify suspects and or to gather evidence against them. You might ask, well, what are we doing with technology in regard to the thefts that occur in the city on a fairly regular basis? Well, we've been pretty much out at the forefront. We have a commander that's working on laws that will prevent thieves from selling their scrap and their second-hand stolen goods to other dealers and pawnbrokers. We're also watching new technologies, the ATM machines that will give you money back for your used cell phone. Well, we're finding anywhere from 8 to 9% of those cell phones that are sold are stolen. So we're working with that company that's producing that program to work with them on trying to reduce the number of stolen phones that end up in their property. We're also committed to working on some long-term crimes, including domestic violence and child abuse. Our domestic violence unit has more than doubled the amount of felony enhancements that we've done in previous years. And that's due to having a new and effective sergeant that's in place in that unit that really shares my vision to make sure that we're protecting our families against further harm. We also have personnel that are constantly looking at the internet to find those people that would abuse our children by contacting them, approaching them online. So, if anybody has children here, young children, that are on the internet on a regular basis, please, please, please watch what they're doing online and make sure that you are aware of who they're talking to. And also look for bullying that might be going on too, because we've noticed that that has an impact on what's going on in society as well. Considering the service work by Rotary, and obviously in seeing the movie today, how much you care about children, I believe that we need to do something more about protecting those children, saving them from bad people, despicable abuse, and preventing them from making the bad decisions that will make the future difficult for them. But it is a much better way of saving our future as well, for our families and the world. Human trafficking, that's another problem that we're dealing with, and that society as a whole needs to address. The abuse of people for multiple purposes is ridiculous, and it's a tragedy that we have to find a method to solve. Reducing demand is one of those ways, and my vice officers know that going after the demand side of prostitution is what I want to see more often. So you should hear more about that in the future. In addition to this problem, we see many people with mental health problems or dependency issues that are acting out in society. For those reasons, we actively train our personnel on how to effectively deal with mental illness situations and to minimize aggressive tactics whenever possible. However, there must be a balance, and we see disturbed people all the time taking weapons into schools, theaters, malls, and other locations to harm others. Training cops to recognize threats is how we keep them and you safe, but their actions are always under scrutiny. Did anybody realize that just a couple of weeks ago, on a Monday, we had a 12-year-old that shot and killed his teacher and wounded several other children? The very next day, Tuesday, a 14-year-old shot and killed his teacher. And then just 3 days later, officers approached a 13-year-old that was walking down the street with a rifle and happened to shoot and kill the 13-year-old. Looked like an AK-47 to the officer. Though each of these happened in different cities, please understand that cops read and watch the news and know what's happening around the country. So instead of being the hero that might have prevented another school tragedy, the officer that fired his weapon was now being vilified. And protests were happening in his city, protesting that shooting. Of course, we all want justice. We always want reasonable uses of force. But it is a fine balance that we have to watch out for. So asking our officers to act always with perfection is really unrealistic. Building trust with you by showing that we are willing to be held accountable for our mistakes, that we will be transparent in our investigations, and that we will act in the best interest of our community is my role. So we'll continue to work toward educating everyone about the split-second decisions that officers are sometimes forced to make and how we determine if those actions were proper or not. I'll now take a moment to promote our Citizen Police Academy, because that is one of the ways that we use to educate our community members in how we do our jobs. It's a 9-week course. We offer it at least once a year, and we get to show everybody how we do our jobs for better understanding, and then they can become ambassadors for us. If you're interested at all, just let my office know, or I'll tell you where to go to find out more information. There are other technology items that we'll be exploring the next year or so. We're close to implementing a scheduling and attendance software program that will allow us to see where every unit is spending their overtime and how vacation and sick leave and military leave and all that affects our staffing. We anticipate that this will allow us to have accurate and in-depth information that will give us an opportunity to be more efficient with our most important resource, our personnel. We're also going to be looking at body cameras. But while that may be the wave of the future, they're expensive, and the best practice policies about them are still being developed. Our Police Foundation has agreed to support a high-quality, diversity-centered leadership training program next year that will help us more effectively deal with our very diverse community and just diversity in general. I also authorize our participation in a National Police Research Survey that will take 2 years to finish, but it will give us very detailed information about what our customers have to say about our performance. People that we have stopped for citations and that we had contact with in accidents will get a follow-up from the researchers to see what they thought about our service. Additionally, our own employees have already taken the survey twice. The results will be shared after the survey is totally complete, and then we'll be able to see how well we do compared with up to 100 or more other police agencies across the country. So social media is another wave of the future. No, wait, it's already here. I'm catching on. I now know how to tweet. I know how to look at Facebook. But clearly there are many opportunities for us to stay in touch with our customers with the use of social media. And I encourage you to look us up on Facebook, Twitter, and on our own YouTube channel. We intend to be much more active with all of these tools thanks to the recent approval by the Finance Director to hire a second public information assistant. I will also use the talents of that person and others to help us with our annual reports, which Mr. Dameron already showed around. There might be still some available over there. I brought them with me because it's really important for me to get some feedback from you. As I said, I work for you. We all work for you. So what do you want to know about what we're doing? I don't know for sure. We've been putting together an annual report for many, many years. I changed the format. I added some stuff. I made it a little bit simpler with the charts. I don't know what you want to know, but I'm very interested in hearing from you. So if you have a chance to take a look at that report, let me know what you think. And if you want to know other information that's not included, pass that on, because as I said, this is your report of what we've done. I don't want to tell you what to know. So that is something that is extremely important. It also, in that report, gives us an opportunity to talk about some of the good news. As I said, we don't always get to see that on the news, but I think it's important that we share those stories so that you understand the very difficult jobs that are being done every day out there to protect you and your families. The reverence for life is also extremely evident. Last week we had an award ceremony. I don't know how many officers were awarded for saving lives, whether it was putting a tourniquet on, doing CPR, whatever it might have been. Our officers are out there on a daily basis protecting lives. It's not what hits the news, but it certainly is what they do. So I'm going to conclude by asking for some more immediate feedback from you by answering some of your questions. And then I again want to thank you very much for what you do for our community. And thanks for your time.
My question involves the theory of stand your ground. There's been a lot of publicity. As a police chief, what are the circumstances that I, as an individual, should be allowed to use force, including deadly force, if either myself or a family member is threatened?
Well, I will say that wherever you are, you need to follow the law that's in place in your community or your state. You know, our state allows people to act in self-defense. So when you're acting in self-defense in general, you're not going to be criminally charged with any kind of a crime. But I think that's for our legislators. We allow our legislators to make the laws, and they'll decide whether or not they think some other type of a law is appropriate or not. But I think that people need to be aware that when there are guns in the house, that often leads to homicides against the people that live in the house. So guns are dangerous, and we need to be very much aware of that fact and be very careful with any guns that might be in a house. Yes, sir.
Heroin is a big problem. What's your attack on that?
Well, opiates in general. Heroin starts because people start taking drugs, prescription drugs, that might be available in the house. And then they get hooked on that, or they might have been prescribed on that, but they get hooked. And then because of the difficulty in getting prescriptions, they turn to heroin, which is a very low cost, something that they can take to sustain that dependency. It's certainly something that we're fighting on a regular basis. We have noticed that, what we used to fight, crack cocaine, has gone down tremendously, and heroin and marijuana are now the drugs of choice for the majority of the people in this country that are users. So I go back to a little bit of the way that we fight things is hopefully we could end some of that demand by treating people that have the dependencies in a more effective way. But we are constantly doing directive patrols with our own patrol personnel to work on heroin issues, and we're also doing that with our Narcotics Bureau. But we are very, very much involved in that. Yes, sir.
Recently in New York City, there has been a significant issue about a police practice they have used, generally known as stop, question, and frisk. It's been a political issue in mayor's race, a judicial issue recently, last week in the federal courts. What are your views of that police practice?
Sure. He asked in general what my views are with regard to the program or practice that has been discussed very frequently in New York City called stop and frisk. And my view is that we follow the law. The Constitution describes how we are allowed to question people. Case law has refined that. We are not allowed to do anything that's unreasonable. We have to have reasonable suspicion to approach people and ask them to do certain things. So we in Columbus don't have a program. We say follow the Constitution, follow the case law that's been practiced ever since these rulings have come out. In New York City, one of those things that is very clear to me is it's very difficult to put all of the facts in a newspaper article. So, I don't necessarily believe what I read in the newspaper, but I do believe that best practices for this town right here are we follow the Constitution and we train officers very, very well. We have great legal advice and legal advisors that do our training with regard to making sure that we follow all of the amendments to the Constitution that reflect what search and seizure rules are. Yes, ma'am.
Tell us what's the number one thing that you would ask the citizens to do to help support those police?
I truly feel that's being done. 3 years ago, not everybody, but enough people voted for the tax increase that allowed us to save those 300 officers that would have been laid off had that tax increase not happened. But certainly I believe that reporting crime is extremely important. Keeping your car locked, your house locked, lights on, that goes an awful long ways, believe it or not. There are crimes of opportunity that happen all the time because people have been careless. And so if you're parked downtown, lock your car, don't leave your laptop out on the car seat. taking safety precautions like that goes a long ways toward preventing those crimes of opportunity. There are thieves that, you know, that's their job, and they go around and they will break into wherever, but harden your target. You know, make it more difficult for them to get in to take your stuff wherever you might be. You know, lock up your purse in your office. You know, those kinds of things go an awful long ways towards making our job a little bit easier and reducing crime. Yes, sir.
Can you express your opinion about the incarceration and rehabilitation?
Incarceration and rehab. I truly believe that, you know, again, going back to why is crime lower? Well, you know, the prison population is pretty high too, and has been rising over the years. Certainly those people that have been in prison might be rehabbed, but they might just learn how to be better criminals. So I think we have to look at what is an effective way and a cost-efficient way of dealing with criminals. What I can tell you is that when I talk to people, they wonder why it is that we can arrest the same burglar 4 times in a month for 4 different burglaries. What does that mean? He got out of jail after the first burglary arrest. He got out of jail after the second burglary arrest. He got out of jail on the 3rd burglary arrest. And he went to jail the 4th time in 1 month for burglary. So do we build bigger prisons? I'm not sure, because that's, you know, you get out on bond, you get out, you know, you do a year for burglary after breaking into somebody's house. But locking people up isn't the answer either. So we have to find a way to deal with people that want to otherwise break into people's homes or steal things from them. And maybe we use anklets, maybe we use education, maybe we save our children from bad things and prevent these kinds of things down the road. Crime prevention is so hard to measure, we won't know, but I believe that that's one of the ways that we have to go. Sir?
How many police officers are on the street in the city of Columbus?
Right now, or just mean in general?
In general.
Okay. 1,860 officers are out there trained. Some of them are just newly trained, but we've got another 40 some in the academy. So by year's end, we'll be right around 1,900. Okay? Yes?
Homeland Security, how well do you work with them? And is there any compensation from the federal government when they get you involved in whatever?
We work very well together with the Department of Homeland Security, with the FBI, ATF. If you might have heard the news a few weeks ago, our headquarters had an explosion in it, and everybody in the general area regarding Homeland Security was there. We all met on the street and talked about what all the possible scenarios were. Did we have actually somebody threatening to, you know, harm our people or our headquarters, and what was that all about? So we work very well together. We meet on a regular basis and talk all the time. We have officers that are on task forces, not just one, more, that work on Homeland Security, work on intelligence and various other things. So that's good. As far as compensation, depending on what the task force is, we do sometimes get some compensation back for overtime that might have been worked on a task force. In general, we don't get direct reimbursement, but in the past we've had some funds that came our way from the UASI money that was spent for buying equipment and things like that. Sir?
I have the understanding that if you're trying to protect your family or yourself, if you're in the confines of your home and an intruder has invaded the home, the rules are a bit different than if it's outside the confines of your home. Is that true? And if so, could you tell me how?
In Ohio, this is about self-defense in your home and or being away from your home. In Ohio, you're expected to, if you're outside of your home, to retreat or take some precautions so that you don't have to necessarily fire back. However, in your home, it's pretty much your castle. It's kind of, I think it's called the castle doctrine. And if people are coming into your house uninvited, then I think there's a general presumption that they're to do you some harm. Yes, sir.
Regarding cameras, A, are they viewed as a deterrent? And B, I understand that there's a lot of pressure not to share national information on facial recognition.
The cameras we have, do we use facial recognition to identify people we don't want on the streets?
The cameras that the city operates does not have facial recognition software attached to it. The Attorney General was using some other camera systems to use that software program, but that's not what we're doing with the city. I don't know of any rules so far on the national level that say you can or cannot use it. It's along the lines of drones and various other things, is how much privacy matters to our communities and where are they going to tell their legislators to go with regard to the rules. Drones are already in use in this country in many different ways, hopefully mostly for good purposes, but at some point in time I expect that there will be laws that will be more restrictive about how they're going to be used.
Okay, well that's it. Are the cameras viewed as a deterrent, and are we being effective with them?
I certainly do believe that they're a deterrent for the areas in which they're viewing. We've noticed that crime has moved. Criminals are still going to be criminals and do their thing some of the time, but we've moved them away from the areas where the cameras are, although they still do things. People either forget about the cameras or they don't know about the cameras and still commit crimes in front of them. But yes, we certainly do view them as deterrents and gives people a peace of mind for their neighborhoods.
One more.
Okay, one more. Mr. Bertha.
I was wondering about the incident that occurred Friday.
Oh, sorry.
At the airport.
Okay.
And what is the role at Port Columbus of the Columbus Police? How big is the role?
Columbus Police does not patrol at the airport. There is a separate police agency that works there with full arrest powers and everything else. That's in addition to the TSA people that are currently assigned there. Columbus Police has mutual aid, so of course if they call us, we would come in. But we do not currently patrol at the airport. Okay.
Chief, there's a small token of our gift from Argo and Laney Jewelers. Dick Argo, Rotary member. Thank you so much for being our speaker today.
Thank you.
Please come back to Columbus Rotary anytime. Thank you.
Thank you all. One last thing. Past Rotarian Roland Brown, his memorial service is this Sunday, 2 o'clock at First Community Church if you wish to go. Thank you all for coming to Columbus Rotary today. Have a great week.
Hey, Jeff, thanks.